Hey PAX Online 2020, I'm Zach, and welcome to Improving Your Tabletop Podcast. Learn from our mistakes panel. So sad we couldn't be with you in person this year, but hopefully we'll roll better next time. Man, that is a tongue twister, guys. So we're all here together. In the meantime, let's introduce you to the people sharing the screen with me. For today's panel, we have Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek Graziano. My pronouns are he, him. I am the host and producer of Rolling Misadventures. We're an actual play podcast that brings a bunch of other podcasters together to play a tabletop role-playing game. Afterwards, I give them the improvised audio drama treatment with sound effects and backing music to create 1 to 2 episode story arcs. And you can find all of that at rollingmisadventures.com. Or also, just a heads up, because this is pre-recorded, I am hanging out in the Twitch chat as Sometimes Geek. So if you have any follow-up questions, be sure to chime in.
And Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nikki. My pronouns are she, her. I'm one of the creators and the producer of Top of the Round, which is a D&D 5e homebrew dark fantasy campaign. I play the very conflicted drow Talus. We have a lot of fun, and you can find out all that bunch more information about that on toterpodcast.com.
And our final panelist is Kelrick.
Hello, I'm Kelrick. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the creator and producer of ExQueerience Points Starfinder, an all-queer cast actual play Starfinder game, and I am also the narrator on Cumanera, which is another all-queer cast Numenera show with 3 troublemakers who make narrating difficult. You can find us on twitch.tv at ExQueerience Points, which you can see to my right behind me, or you can follow us on Twitter at EQ Points for more information.
Awesome. So that rounds out our intros for our panelists, and you may be thinking, who the hell are you? And you have every right to. I am Zach, the creator of CastJunkie. CastJunkie is firstly a podcast that reviews other people's podcasts and tries to help support indie podcast creators. But most importantly, we also have a thriving community on Discord of over 2,100 active users who all love podcasts. So, that's basically it. People who love podcasts, want to create podcasts, and my pronouns are he, him. So, you may be thinking to yourself, what makes this panel stick out over another podcasting 101 panel? The answer is simple. We're not going into this thinking you're just starting, but like many of the community members on Discord, you already have an actual play podcast. But you're looking to help further and get some daunting questions out of your way and look for some, maybe some like plus ones to help your guys' shows. So let's get back into this, guys, and back to our panelists. And the first question we have for the 4 of you is, how did you all get improv? How did you all get into improv? And are there warm-ups to help you set the comedic tone for the episode? So I'm just going to leave this open. I'm not going to call it names. Just kind of go, or we can go. Or if you guys want me to call it names, I can.
I'll go ahead and start with that. As far as improv goes, aside from just podcasting in general, I've been podcasting for 4 years, a little more than 4 years at this point. And a lot of the experience I've had with podcasting has been improv. And most people think, improv, it's bringing a prompt and making a character and things like that. But when it comes to the conversations that we have in everyday life, and podcasting is no different than that, if it's a conversational style, all of our conversations that we have are improvised. We don't have a planned script going into it. I mean, yes, I am one of those people that will sit there and replay possibilities in my head of how the conversation could go. But other than that, whether it's conversations, whether it's just sitting down at a table and, playing your D&D character or your Starfinder character, those scenes that you are playing out is straight improvised. You're playing off of cues of other people. You're listening and interacting with the environment. And because of that, you are creating an improvised thing. So that's what my experience has been. It's never been a formal improvisation, stage performance or anything like that.
So my experience, I was a drama kid in high school. It was all scripted, but my teacher liked to make us do like weird improv miming stuff. Not that that has anything to do with audio, but I really enjoy acting, and I did a lot of text role play growing up through started in Neopets. I don't know if any of you remember Neopets.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's
yeah.
old school, but so basically I had a friend start us out playing Mech Warrior, and I found out that I really enjoyed the role play and playing off of somebody else in the same room. So that's kind of my experience. I'm kind of the new kid on the block. We've only been going since last year. So, I mean, you definitely play off the people and the intensity around you, even if you're playing remote, because you're just kind of collaboratively telling a story together. And it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. That's a real nice lead into us, because all of the shows that we do are completely remote. The only two people who are together, my husband and I, on the opposite side of the screen. And for us, one of the biggest things that helped us was this book by Karen Twelve's Improv for Gamers.
Ooh.
And I've heard really good things about that one.
It has awesome little warm-ups and ways to trust each other that you can still do, because my experience with improv is that you don't trust the people, then you are much less willing to go out on a limb in telling your story. Building that kind of environment is really fun. And for me in particular, I just like to, whatever everyone's doing, I like to put a little spin on it that takes it in an odd direction. As being on Rolling Misadventures once with Kenny, that show was one of the most absurd things I've ever been a part of. It was awesome.
Yeah. And,
so much fun.
And that was just a matter of, someone throwing out a cue of, the basic theme behind that story arc was us being goblins. And so when you think goblins, you think high fantasy. No, we ended up going to a goblin gap and shopping for pants in it. And it was just the most ridiculous thing. But going back to the previous question from Zach, as far as warm-ups go, even Nikki kind of commented before we hit record, just sitting here and having this conversation and feeling out the players at your table is a huge warm up that a lot of people just take for granted. Because you figure, I've got a couple hours to play, get in, hop immediately into character. Well, no. As a podcaster, warming up your voice, having this conversation will do that. B, it gets everyone's nerves down a little bit, because especially doing something remote, and in my case, we bring on a lot of guests. So having that, bringing the nerves down, this is someone new at our table, feel them out, also lay out, kind of what your safety tools are. All of that is huge improv prep and not necessarily a game to play, but a warm up.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that we have a list of online vocal warm-ups that we do before recording. So Bertie bought some butter, but she said that butter's bitter, weird stuff like that. Whatever helps you get over your tongue tiedness, and then you start laughing together because somebody messed up that's where you want to be,
You're supposed to do that? I guess I should start taking some lessons from you guys.
And especially in this, COVID time right now, we're doing so much remotely anyway. These exercises help with group cohesion, because I don't know about everyone's show, but we really thrive on the ridiculous, because that makes it funny and engaging. If we're laughing, our audience is probably laughing with us or at us. Either way, we're having a good time.
And that's the perfect segue into the next part of the same question is, do you guys have any tricks to help put that joke or that scene over the top, take it from, a 75% comedic rating all the way to 125, or just, it doesn't even have to be comedic. It could be drama. It could be emotional. It could be smelling flesh if you're Nikki. I just got to toss that one out there because that's probably...
My character
do you want to explain that? Do you want to explain that?
You guys might need to explain that one, Nikki.
Just listen to Top of the Round, and then you can mock me with them.
Yeah.
It happens very quickly.
Yeah, it does. But back to the question: do you guys have any tricks to do that? I mean, where are you guys pulling from?
For me and Rolling Misadventures, we are very heavily edited, to the point where I will, if we have a scene play out, if we have two people talking over each other, because all of my players are remote. That's how we started. And so when someone's going to throw out a one-liner or some other sort of joke, it might overlap a little bit, or maybe we'll flub something or things like that. So I have no problem going in and keeping the general idea and tone of what they said, but, maybe nudging the audio just a little bit to cut out this joke, to give it that pause that's needed after it's delivered to let the absurdity sink in. Or in the case of the audio design that I do with the sound effects, sometimes punching that description up with, a sound of a torch or one of my favorite ones that we used. It was a very gory sound, but it was spaghetti honey is what it was listed as. It sounds about as terrible as you think. But it's just
Not
a matter
delicious.
of, I've never tried to taste it. The auditory side of it was not delicious.
I'll bring some to you next time.
Okay, gotcha. But it's a matter of feeling it out and saying, it's practice, because we've done podcasting for as long as we have. We kind of know where that's going to hit right. But also it's just knowing that it's going to be heavily edited, letting people just throw out other jokes. Like, we played a one-shot that was entirely just telling stories of barbarians and people trying to hijack the story with a badass one-liner. That was the mechanic of the game, and it rewarded it. And so, my character be telling a story, my player Megan would hop in and say, like, oh, my character stabbed someone. Megan throwing out the line of, well, I think they got the point. And then just gauging how the group reacts to it. If everyone kind of just chuckles, okay, yeah, that's an all right joke. If everyone just face palms, just head down towards the keyboard, just like, yes, that is what I want from this scene. That is the line I'm going to put in. So it's a matter of feeling it out. And generally, if your group is laughing, like Kelrick had said, if you're having a good time, you're enjoying it, you're just laughing and giggling, it's going to translate. It really is.
Yeah. So our show is definitely a mix of humor and darkness, I would say. There's a lot of drama. It kind of goes back to trust for me, because if you trust the people at your table, like, I personally have always kind of bottled my emotions, so role-playing kind of helps me get those out in a safe environment, which is really interesting. But I realized that after we kind of started doing it really, really heavily, that I'm kind of taking from my own experiences to drive that character's emotions in the scene, or to, to go from laughing hysterically at a joke to crying because something happened to an NPC. It's very much kind of being able to trust those around you, so that that you can be vulnerable in those situations and pull on your personal experiences. And kind of what Derek was saying when it comes to jokes, there have been quite a few times where we're around the table, we've all known each other forever, so we start going off on a tangent and then we're like, we gotta cut that, and then we just continue. So it's just there. That's what the bloopers are for,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. With our show, what we tend to do is lean on sex. No. We are really fortunate to have a bunch of people who just, they like to catch the ball. Whatever is being said, they like to throw out there some connection. And especially now, like when we first started, we were doing this homebrew. So it was really easy because everyone was just like, throw anything out there. And somehow we wound up on an undead nude beach. Like, that's how the story goes.
As you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing, right? Sure.
Yeah.
Now we're doing an adventure path, which we fight really hard to make sure it doesn't limit that kind of interaction, because our narrator is trying to move the story along, but at the same time, we want to be able to still be goofy and stuff. So if they bring up an NPC, depending on who's involved, we have 2 Lothario characters. So they're just like, oh, that's an ex of mine. Really? It's a 50-year-old lizard woman who chain smokes. Maybe we were just in a social circle together then. Or, I mean, everyone just starts picking on one small thing and then growing it. And so it's finding that one bit of interest that each player has and letting them explore where that's going to go and build the comedy that way or build the drama that way. It's just this nice layered thing of you see someone doing something and then the next person in line is taking it just that one step further. How do we elevate it? So let's just slowly do it and then we just get where we're going. And since we're doing it live, it's one of those things where we just have to be conscientious about what we do. And so we talk about that beforehand.
With respect to doing it live, because, like I had mentioned, and Kelrick, you and Nikki as well, you experience what it's like recording with us where, you've got 3-4 hour game session for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then going back and hearing, how it's been cut together, what's been cut out and the things like that. Definitely, I know there was a whole scene that got cut out with one of my hosts singing in a goblin voice that I think it ended up in our AMA or our Patreon or something like that.
So like way to patch that into our PAX panel right now? Or?
Not on the fly, not
music.
That quick with OBS.
In the background, just like the
Yeah.
low.
It's my jam.
Or, go listen to our AMA episode. There you go. You can hear it there.
There you go.
But like I said, it's respect for that to Kelrick with doing it live, because there are a lot of times where we might say a joke in poor taste, not necessarily meaning it to come across as such, but we have that freedom knowing that it's going to be highly edited, because I can go back and say, oh, you know what, this joke, as an outside party, this doesn't really, you might offend someone unintentionally from this, and it's nothing over the top. It might have been just a slip up or even a mispronunciation of certain words have done that. But having that freedom to be able to not worry about it and to come back to it later has been a huge help for us. So the fact that you do it live is insane to me.
Yeah, mad respects.
One of the things we really actually, I don't want to say we enjoy, we value that people reach out to us and they're like, hey, while you were doing this, you got someone's pronouns wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's super important to us. Just that level of respect. I mean, we're an all queer cast, which doesn't mean, sometimes people take that to mean we're only for the LGBTQIA community. What it really means is that we just tell stories as queer people existing as queer people, telling stories that have queer content. Because when we started, it was just a bunch of podcasts out there with straight people who were allies and wonderful, telling stories from their opinion of who we are, which is why I was like, I would like to hear us tell stories as us. And, so doing it live, there is a lot of pressure, but I think we get through it. I mean, we have really awesome people who are cognizant of what they need to say, and we just do our best. And then we have no problem apologizing and trying harder.
Yes.
And I think that's all anyone can do.
Yeah.
So I think we've gone a little off topic, Zach. If you'd like to rein us in.
If you guys went too far, I would have stopped you guys. But no, that was great. So the second main question we have for this panel is, how much work truly goes into creating, editing, producing, releasing, and finally advertising your guys' shows? Now, feel free to split that up however you want. I know as a creator myself, that is me across the board. So if that's you, go ahead and explain your experience, because I think Derek, you're very similar in that same fashion as I am.
Yeah, no, so, I am the worst about that.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, a recording session for us, we do 2 episodes in a sitting. That's about 3 to 4 hours of just recording. And then each episode after, just the editing side of it, for me anyway. And granted, I've been doing this for a while. I've learned tricks and shortcuts to shorten my workflow and how much time is spent on it. But all said and done, from start to finish, just for the episode, not even promotion, not even networking and things like that, I'm looking between 10 to 12 hours every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So we are on weekly releases and we have bi-monthly Patreon content. We get together to record once to twice a week for 4 to 6 hours. I like to joke that Toter is, top of the round, we call it Toter, is my second full-time job because it is. I think it's really important when you're thinking about what you want that you're putting the right timeline on it, because I had no idea how much time was going to be committed to this. Not that I'm not sad about it, because I'm very committed and I love it. But I think that some people might be overwhelmed, and it's important to have, I think, those conversations with a cast or a crew before you even get into it, because as of right now, I am distributing content to my entire team because I taught them all to edit. And so then we just have an Excel spreadsheet of who's done what and when, and I final everything, and then that doesn't even take in the promotion or anything like that, or interacting on Discord. It's kind of a lifestyle if you want to accept it as one, just because once you're in the thick of it, I am always thinking about what needs to be done, like, just to be completely honest. But for us, an episode, it goes through recording, so that's 4 to 6 hours. And then once it gets to an editor, it can take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours. And that's just the initial run. And then we put music and other stuff and EQ it. And so then that can take another 2 to 4 hours per episode. So you're talking, unless it's really easy for some reason, it's super short content, you are going to be pouring a lot of time into that. And we're proud of that. When, we release something and people like it, we're really excited, but there is so much time that you pour into content. It's just the truth of it.
Yeah. So when I first started, and I'll be clear, because this is my passion project, I handle all of the production side, release, all of that. Because I don't feel like my cast members all have other podcasts that they're on and doing other things. Yeah. And since it's my passion project, I leave it open for people if they want to take on things. And some people have taken on a little bit of the advertising side, which I was so grateful for. But I'd have no expectations of that. So when we first started, we were just doing the podcast, and, we tried multiple ways. There are a lot of ways to create podcasts. There's everyone recording their own audio and sending it. And then I use Adobe products to do my stuff. So I'd put it into Adobe Audition, layer everything, add the music, cut out all of the pauses, get as many, if I never hear again in my entire life.
Lip smacks.
Yeah. Oh,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
So all of those things, editing them, finding them, even, after a while, your eyes start to recognize that's what an looks like in sound form. That's just how it works. Mm-hmm. And so you're able, and then learning the shortcut keys and doing all of those things. I probably went from a 20-hour workflow doing one episode when I was first learning, down to a 9-hour production time doing that. And then we started finding other tools and other ways of doing it. And that's one of the reasons we went to a live stream, because now my workflow, if the rest of my life allows me the time, I can knock out an episode in about 45 minutes because it's live, so it's already out there. I pull down the video, I edit everything, and then I rip the audio into its podcast form, throw that up as an MP3. I take the edited version and I throw it up on YouTube, so it's there. And then we have what we have on Twitch for a couple of weeks. And so people can choose how they choose to consume our show. But it really helps with production time in particular, because we're using different products like Sirenscape. And so that's pumped into the background already. So music is already, and background ambiance is already layered in. And, these were all systematic choices that I made with my husband's help, because he is my tech person. And, we have just, and we're still working on improving it. but these are these choices we made to improve our workflow, because otherwise it is your entire existence. And I mean, everything you work, and then this is your job. And luckily this is your second job, fulfills you creatively, hopefully, but it's all about finding what is the easiest way to produce what I want to create.
Yeah. And then the other side of it, all of it's just had mentioned just the creating and the putting the podcast out there. I don't even have a tally of how many hours I spend on Discord, Twitter, Facebook, all of those places where I'm interacting with other creators. I'm interacting with listeners. I'm forming the bond with other people that I want to bring on as guests, or if I'm trying to guest on their shows. So it really comes down to, because I have a day job, it's like, okay, here's my 10-minute break. I'm going to hop on, send out these couple of emails. Yep. Here's my 30-minute lunch. I'm going to hop on Facebook. And then I get home and it's literally, I have 2 monitors up, one for editing, one for social media, that as I'm editing, I can scroll through Twitter a little bit, go back, edit a little bit more. Now I've got these messages to scroll through. So it is a constant thing for me.
Oh yeah, it is absolutely constant. But if you
it's
live
definitely a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, the Discord time is the hardest time for me to find, because you need to engage with everything as it's happening.
Yes.
And I've just joined the Be Gay Roll Dice Network. And so we have separate channels for each show. We have a general channel. We have, our ad channel for, promoting each other. And I mean, there are all of these elements that you have to pay attention to. And, being the sole person responsible for that, it's a lot. So it's exhausting. You need to be able to find ways to get your recharge from doing what you're doing, because stepping away is, going to just drop you down so much people forget about you, because there's so many choices out there. So you have to put in that work.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think it means a lot to the fans when you take that extra step to engage with them too, because there are so many creators. I mean, just being somebody from the outside in, 2 years ago, you say hi to somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, I really like your show. And then they never respond. You're like, okay, well, I still like it. If you take that extra step and you're like, send a fun GIF and just say, hey, you rock. Thanks for listening. It means a lot. Even just that little amount of effort means so much to somebody who is taking the time to listen to you or to tweet about you or to make you fan art. If you take that and you run with it and you give them back what they, what they're trying to give to you, you form kind of a bond and a relationship with your fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think we're going to.
Just real quick, another thing to chime in. Yeah, it'll kind of lead into, I think, what one of our next questions was. But it's also important to know kind of what your limit is on that. Because it is important to do the social media. I mean, if you're not talking about your show, if you're not getting your name out there, if you're not interacting with people, they're not going to find what you do, what you create. They're not going to listen. They're not going to download because they don't know about it. But it's also important to take a break from that as well. Know that, come 7:00 at night, I know that I'm eating dinner, I'm watching TV with my wife, and then I'm going to bed. Social media is off at that point.
So that does lead into the next question, which would be, so what does success look for you all? So keep in mind, some of us, when you guys set out to do a show, an actual play podcast, or just a podcast in general, audio drama or history or true crime, whatever show genre you fall into, you guys need to remember that you're doing it out of a passion. And if it ever becomes not a passion for you guys, that's when it's just time to call it quits. Just roll up the carpet, find something that you're passionate about again, or find the passion for it again. Because like everybody here is saying, is we put in countless hours. I mean, I think most of these shows are probably going in 12 hours from them recording to editing. And then you can't even tally up the hours you guys spend on social media or in other ways trying to get the name out there and interact with your users and listeners. So if you don't have passion for it, you're going to burn out real quick. So just make sure that you're finding what that passion is to keep you driving forward in it. And with that, what does success look for you guys? I know the level, like where the barometer is for me, and I've been podcasting since 2013, and this has changed basically consistently throughout the years. And I feel like success is an ever-changing goal, because you hit a marker, or maybe you don't hit a marker, and then you realize, oh, why did I shoot that level? I was supposed to be going to the left, and my marker was to the right. So what does that look like for you guys?
Someone else want to start? I feel like I've been kind of leading them off.
Sure. So, I mean, we're D&D 5e. We get pretty serious. I think that, when everybody starts, they're like, I'm going to be the next Critical Role. But, the fact of the matter is that we're not Critical Role. We have a very different fan base. Some fans like both, but I think that you need to have a realistic expectation when you go into it that everybody's success is different. I talk about this a lot with people because they go back to the numbers thing, or the, hey, you have more followers than I do. Like, the comparison trap is really, really, really bad. That's
dangerous.
It's very, dangerous is the right word I'm looking for, because you can go on Twitter and you're like, oh my gosh, they're doing so much better. They have, way more fan art, blah, 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 blah. Like, you have to step away from that mindset, and you have to kind of accept the fact that your show is unique, even though the TTRPG community, and there are so many new shows coming out every single day that it's easy to feel like you're drowning in a pool, kind of like, but you have a unique voice. And it's just, I don't know, success for me, I think, is I am putting out a product that I am excited about. I am creating, and I am passionate about it, and my crew is passionate about it, and we're all happy about it, and the fans are happy about it, and the people that are listening, if they are excited about our story and what's going on, then in my opinion, we've succeeded.
Awesome. Kelrick?
Yeah, this has actually been a real problem for me in particular. When I first started, I had these extremely high expectations. I worked myself to death. I, really asked a lot from people who were with me because I thought we all wanted to go in this direction. And, there were several things where people rolled off the show because of creative differences, because I was still learning how to define success. And, I felt, I look back now and I'm like, it really impacted on my ability to focus on telling a good story. And that it took letting go of a lot of those expectations. I used to obsessively check my download numbers. It was just click, is it up? Click, is it up? All of those sort of things. I had to find a way to take a breath and just say, I'm creating what I'm creating with these awesome people that I am enjoying creating it with, and whatever comes, comes. In the back of my head, I've still got the successes defined by fan art. Having people create art of your characters means they care enough. And I mean, that's the back of the head thing that I can't let go of, but I don't let it push me in any direction. But you really have to stop looking at other people and saying, that's the bar. The bar for you should be whatever is going to make you happy with what you're creating. And let you, if your goal is to connect with your audience, then find ways to do that. Twitch has been one of the best things for that for me. I didn't even know for the longest time that my brother listened to the show until he started coming on Twitch and chatting and being like, snarky older brother jerk, awesome. It's amazing. And I feel like that's success. It's a way to connect with my brother that I don't get to see very often.
That's really cool.
So,
That's really cool.
Really cool.
For me, success, when I started my first podcast, it was a video game news podcast. And I was like, oh, there can't be a whole lot of them out there. There's Giant Bomb, there's Rooster Teeth doing, what they were doing, IGN. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm putting out this. I'm going to wait for people to find it. I'm going to get downloads. I'm going to get into the industry. I'm going to work in there as a journalist. And then I would get 4 downloads every week.
Yeah.
And then I would get, we had a format change to where it was a single hosted. It wasn't, 2 white guys chatting about geek shit. So it was, okay, here's my new format. And it did help because it was, 15 to 20 minutes, hop in and out. It wasn't, an hour and a half rambly conversation, which was great. And numbers did go up, and finding network and finding the community within it. It was like, okay, cool. Now I'm getting 40 downloads a week. But for me, that wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't leading me to what these big, lofty, ideal goals were that I was having. Whereas now doing Rolling Misadventures, my success is in it. Like, yes, there was a time where it was all numbers for me, even with this show. That actually changed when I swapped hosting providers and my analytics didn't follow with it. So now I'm like, oh, that big number I was looking at is now smaller. And it didn't change anything. So it obviously wasn't that important. But now it's like, okay, while they might not necessarily be goals, the successes that I have with the show, being able to do like this panel with two people that I have had as guests on my show, with people that I have met in person because of podcasting, has been amazing. We had the creator of Fiasco, the game we mainly play on our show, Jason Morningstar, on our show. Like, that was a huge success. That is something that would have never happened if I wasn't doing the podcast. And even with the guests, having people from shows that I adore and I listen to every week, having some of their players come on and join us is a huge success. So it's looking at all those little things. And and
it's finding that moment when something happens that you're just like, okay, I've been looking at this wrong.
Yeah.
I know for me, one of those moments was when an indie content creator wrote to me and was like, I like what you do, and I think your cast is perfect to showcase my product. If I send you copies of this and a copy you can give away, will you play it? And that totally shifted my perspective from I've got to do to reach this goal to I'm already doing. Someone's noticed and I'm doing enough that they want me to do that. That's success. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it's finding that thing, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I think like Derek, I'm going to jump in on these next two a little bit, just because I have more input on them, is I started with video game podcasts as well. By myself, and then I had a co-host on my second video game podcast that we did for almost 8 years. And I think the level of success when I first went into it, like you, Derek, was like, I'm going to make this brand, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to be, I'm going to build up such a brand awareness and name recognition that I can apply to work at Giant Bomb, or I won't need to, like I'll be making the money that they're making, or I can do what they did. But I think what I realized was that's a lot of work, and it's a very small market that you can't really always penetrate into. But where I found my success was I did help start a website that got us into PAX as press. So we did like 5-6 years of PAX every year for the Button Smashers, and we went up to Seattle. We did the PAX experience, and we lived that kind of journalistic life that I was ultimately looking for. And then through my other shows I've done and stuff like that, I think I've really been cognizant on where that level of success is going to come in. And especially with CastJunkie, which is my main bread and butter right now for a show, it's really the community. And I didn't realize that was going to be the level of success when I started it. I thought, honestly, going into it is like, the advertising ability that I could do to make this a full-time career would have been amazing. A show under 10 minutes that reviews another podcast that quickly gets you in and out and on to subscribing to somebody else's show would have been unfathomable. And I thought that would have been super marketable. And then I just created this Discord thing off to the side just as a joke, just trying to get some, like, oh, I can present this to advertisers. And then now I have Nikki as a full admin moderator on there, and Derek's been a sub moderator over there for me. And we have 2,100 people, and every day there's 10 new people, and I don't even know who the hell they are. And I don't know if they're a creator. I don't know if they're a listener. I don't know who they're a fan of, but we have all these different things. And I quickly realized, like 6 months into the show, that like, all right, this isn't an advertising thing. This isn't like a promotion. This isn't like a sit down and chat with creators thing. This is strictly podcasting needs a community and everybody wants one, but nobody wants to take the time and include everybody. So let's get this. And so that's been my level of success, is watching the interactions over on Discord. So that's where my level of success comes from. And I feel like I said at the beginning, it always is changing.
Oh, yeah.
So at first it was 100 people on Discord. Holy shit, I've never seen this before. And then all of a sudden it's 500, and then all of a sudden from 500 to 1,000 went really quick. I think it was like 2 weeks, and now we're at 2,100, and we're a year and a half in, and it's just like, wow, okay, and a lot of new engagement and continued engagement. So that's where my level of success now is, watching people build relationships. Mm-hmm. That's where my success is. So without that, I mean, I wouldn't have met Derek. I wouldn't have met Nikki. I would have known you guys through Twitter, but that's where I met you guys. Yeah, was through doing the Discord community. So, I think we're gonna move on to our.
Just real quick, it's also really cool to see as being part of the CastJunkie community itself, because Nikki, you've been around in it for a long time in comparison to myself.
Yeah.
Like I've been in it for maybe 6 months or so at this point, and seeing it grow and seeing creators that, as far as going back to the comparison thing, their shows are significantly bigger than mine that I'm a fan of. Seeing them trickle into the community and be like, hey, this is a cool spot, and let me check out who's here, what shows are here, and interact with people that way. Oh, yeah. Where it's like, oh my God, I'm a fanboy of you, but at the same time also remembering, or like Kelrick had mentioned, finding that level of success to be like, we're on an equal playing field here, and you're treating me the same way that I would treat you.
Yep.
They're just people too.
They are. Yeah. And then also, the comparison thing too, there is like, we have people with the growth channel. They're sharing their personal successes. So, I hit 500 downloads, or, I had this person share my tweet, and like, it's just their growth. And that's all this one channel is all about. And just watching people interact with each other and lift each other up, that's really cool.
It's so cool.
So, yeah.
It really is.
So our final topic for this panel, guys, is my absolute favorite, and we've already completely transitioned into it. My bad. It's all about podcasting community. So what does that look like for each of you, and do you find it important?
100%. It's, you'll go to.
I'm going to stay out of this one for a little bit.
Okay, so you'll go to Twitter. A lot of people claim, Twitter is a cesspool. And a lot of the time they're right. It could be a pretty rough place. But at the same time, I see a lot of people complaining about Twitter that are following whatever the big trend, the big controversy is. Meanwhile, I scroll through my feed, and the people that I follow are tabletop podcasters, or podcasters who do other shows, or people that make dice or fan art and stuff like that, or a lot of cats. I have a lot of cats on my Twitter. And so it's just scrolling through it. It's like, when I go back to talking about spending, my lunch break on Twitter or my editing time on Discord, it's finding those positive places, which is something that I didn't realize was something that I needed as much as I did. Like, there are plenty of followers that I have had on, or people that I had followed on various social media that were all promotion all the time. This is a business, this is the hustle I have to do. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but it's vapid. Like, there's nothing of substance to any of your tweets other than, hey, go listen to my show. Yeah. Whereas, like, especially something I've seen really big in the tabletop podcasting scene is the positivity, take a break, drink some water. If you need help with something, let me know. And that's something that I've tried to put out into the community to both build relationships with other podcasters. But as someone who's been around for 4+ years, also bring up those brand new podcasters like I was, that in that first year, not knowing where I fit in, not knowing that you can reach out to a podcaster and say, hey, I like your show. I have this question about a microphone, or, I've seen screenshots of your DAW, your digital audio workstation that you use. I'm kind of getting into it. Can you help me with this? And seeing those people be just amazingly supportive to other creators.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's
yeah.
like, on the one hand, yes, you have that side of Twitter that's a cesspool, but why don't I help counteract that with my presence there and bring forth those things that helped me?
You can go ahead if you want to.
No, after you, please.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say communities.
Y'all are way too nice. Just saying.
Goes back to that positive side of Twitter.
Yes. Community is crucial, I think. When we started, we didn't really know that there was a whole community surrounding podcasts on social media that would support each other. So our entrance into podcasting was on Instagram, and we ran into a few shows that were incredibly competitive just immediately right off the bat. So I was very hesitant to get into Twitter. So when we did, I was surprised because people were being nice and it was genuine. And then I found the CastJunkie Discord server, kind of started to get to know people there. And I can definitely say that our show would not be where it is now if we had not taken the leap and had some confidence and just kind of started reaching out to people and talking. I think the biggest thing for me on community is it's important to engage without expecting anything in return. Because so many people come to me or message our account, or they're like, hey, listen to my podcast. And I'm like, if you would have started a conversation with me beforehand, or, maybe, I might have more of, I might make more of an effort, but, just cold, like, hey, do this, or having a conversation like, hey, I like your socks. You know what those remind me of? My podcast. I'm just like, okay. But it's really important to actually be genuine and make those relationships and those connections with people, because it will change your podcasting world. It really will. If you have,
I'm gonna use that one from now on.
Are you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There you got it from me. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's really important to just be genuine and make friends. To make friends and to lift each other up. You can be a successful creator and still plug the shit out of your friends. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of the nice things about networks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we have an advertising rota, and every person who is releasing during that week is putting an ad from a different podcast in our network at the end or in the middle of their show. When I started, I was listening to 3 different podcasts that were actual play, and I wrote to the producers for Tabletop Champions and oh gosh, why can't I even remember? I'm on the spot, so I've forgotten their name. Cosmic Crit, and they were lovely. I just cold call emailed them saying, hey, I'm thinking about creating this thing. And all I had at the time was the name, and both of them, which really made me happy, were like, that's a cool name. We really like ExQueerience Points. So then they were like, here are the microphones we use. Here's how we do this. They were willing to walk me through literally anything and just share that time. And they were so kind and generous. And, now I'm friends with one of the cast members, Lauren, who's taken over some of the narrating duty for Tabletop Champions. And she's amazing. And my Twitter feed is full of other podcasts and other people who love TTRPGs. And they resonate with the inclusive message that we have. And so there's all of these positive conversations. Twitter has never been a cesspool for me unless I read the comments on somewhere outside of TTRPG generally.
Yeah.
And so I have to try and train myself, still fail, not to do that, and then just focus on these other interactions I'm having that are really positive. Instagram, never been able to get into.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, same.
Just not my thing. Discord, I'm on so many channels and get to talk with so many cool people. That community just recharges me. You meet, when we first got on and we're doing our little warm up meeting each other, Nikki and I were talking about, Right Jesser on, Twitter. Yeah. And she is one of the most incredible humans, and I would have never met her if I had not started this podcast and doing stuff and trying to build a community for support that we could in turn give support to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it is absolutely key to be able to do this. And if anyone is interested in getting to that next level and asking people who have been there the kinds of questions we're talking about, just cold call. Just do it. Just send a Twitter message, send a Discord thing. Because the worst thing that happens is they don't respond. The best things that happen, they do respond and invite you on their show, or, you know, give you here's a picture of my workstation. Here's the stuff I use. Here's how I set everything up. And most people are happy to take that time and encourage someone else because it reinvigorates our own passion for what we're doing, because it feels like it's time to pass some of that on, pay it forward, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's awesome.
Awesome, guys. Well, I hate to do this because I feel like this is, again, a little bit forced, but we are getting close to the end of our time frame for PAX Online 2020. So I'm going to wrap us up here. I'm going to give you guys all an opportunity to shout out where to find you guys at, because I do truly believe that the three of you guys and lady, if these people reach out to you guys, would be a great asset to all of them. So that includes this panel for PAX Online. I want to personally thank all of you guys for tuning in, and to our panelists. I do truly appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day and accommodating my time schedule, because I was the cramp here, to sit down with me. Before we officially wrap this up, guys, I'm going to give each of you guys, like I just said, an opportunity to tell the viewers where to find you and how to get a hold of you so they can build this community, because I do truly think that everybody's success should be based off of trying to build a community. So Derek.
Actually, if someone else wants to go first, so I can hop over on OBS and pop up our logos.
All right, fine. We're going to go with Nikki.
Oh.
Nope, never mind. Nope, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to go with Kelrick. I'm going to throw a wild ball. There we go. We're going to go with Kelrick.
No, what? Oh.
What?
All right. So you can find me on Twitter at EQ Points. I monitor everything that goes on there. We post all of our shows. We pin our most recent up. You can also find me at Cormallon. That's CORMALLON. That's my personal account. Happy to respond. If you want to follow our show, it's twitch.tv at ExQueerience Points. And we have a website, ExQueeriencePoints.com. You can find us lots of places.
All the places.
Nikki.
So you can find our main show account on Twitter under Totercast, TOTRcast. We're at toterpodcast.com as well. I run the Twitter most of the time unless my husband randomly takes it over, which is concerning sometimes. My personal account is Nikki VO. I am happy to respond. I help people all the time that cold message me and they're like, oh my God, what mic do you use? You know, like seriously, even if it takes me a few days to get back to you.
A few years?
Yeah, definitely, you know, say hi.
Pretty bad marketing there.
I know. Crap. Dang it. Sometimes
Oldest
it takes
community ever.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes me a few days, but definitely say hi. Twitter, honestly, is probably the best way to get in touch with me, but yeah. Or the CastJunkie Discord server, because I'm there all the time.
She is there all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. All right, Derek.
All right. So if you enjoyed this panel, feel free to check out my show, Rolling Misadventures. You can find links to all of my social media at rollingmisadventures.com. You can hit me up on Twitter at rmisadventures. That's the letter R, misadventures. Hopefully over in the Twitch chat, I've been answering some questions. You can always message me there as well, although I'm a little bit less active on Twitch. And also, if you hit our website, we also have a contact us form. So feel free to send any questions there. If you're looking to be guests, if you want me to be a guest, I mean, all of that social media anyway is a way to hit me up.
Oh,
awesome.
Real quick, before we go to you, Zach, I just wanted to say, if anyone's interested, our Cumanera show is about to be putting up a forum for a new cast member. So if you check out our EQ Points Twitter account, you'll see the link for that probably in the next few days. And this is
awesome.
Going to go through probably September.
Nice.
Awesome. And I'm Zach, or people just call me CastJunkie. You can always find me at CastJunkie on all social media. You can also find us over on the CastJunkie Discord, which can be found at castjunkie.com. If you guys are looking to help support indie podcasts, or if you guys are looking to get support as an indie podcast, go ahead and reach out to me. I'm more than happy to see what I can do, get you in connection with the right people. And then also I want to do a little bit shameless plug. If you guys are looking for more PAX Online information, check out simplybinge.com, where I'll be writing articles for this year's PAX Online. So again, thank you everybody for PAX Online 2020. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this has helped you guys up and improve your guys' actual play experience and your game as a whole, and maybe giving you some insight on what you should be focusing on as you continue down this road of podcasting. It's been a great session speaking with you guys. So thank you, Derek. Thank you, Kelrick. Thank you, Nikki. And everybody have a great rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.